Hey, what's up ladies and gentlemen, it is I am the one and only Maxi here, and I am from the Like of the Maxi Toys videos once again. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back for some more of Let's Play of Sonic Advance 3 for the Game Boy Advance. So it looks like that Amy was looking away while Sonic was actually busy snoozing all of a sudden. But even then though, there's no time to waste. So anyway, last time we have managed to able to accomplish Zone 5, which appears to be Twinkle Snow. And I think that was actually probably the most harmless zones in the whole game. No frustrations here and there, despite the informs that particular boss fight was actually the hardest in the game. So today for this episode is the fact that we are moving on to the next zone in this game, which appears to be Cybertrack. And this to me though is one of my least favorite zones in the game, alongside with the forms of Ocean Base Zone. Well, it might not be so much of a worse though, but even then though, it gets worse until Act 3. But for now on though, let's move on to the forms of the next combination, in this case the last combination I'm going to be showing you for this point guys. And that's what appears to be Amy with Knuckles. And Amy with Knuckles combination is that if you're trying to press the action button, basically, Amy Rose managed to able to get herself her gigantic hammer. So this meaning about the fact that she was actually on power type mode at the moment. And also, when you use the attack action with Knuckles, pretty much acts out very much exactly the same, so even then though. But as you can tell, that Amy Rose does have a peel out, or in this case a super peel out. So if you remember from the likes of Sonic CD, when Sonic managed to able to use the super peel out in that game, well, in addition to with the forms of Sonic Chaos and Sonic Triple Trouble as well, that the super peel out for Amy does manage to make an existence. So even then though, that, well, it's actually kind of feels like a replacement of that spin dash ability. So yeah, that seems all cool, all things considered. So anyway, Cybertrack, as you can tell, that once again, much like the forms of Sonic Advance 2, we ended up in the forms of some sort of like a Cypher database kind of level theme, which I think it still looks pretty good, all things considered with the forms of that level theme. However though, the only thing I must admit though right away, I kind of prefer Techno Base over a bit more than the forms of how it does here on Cybertrack, because I don't know, something about this particular zone just rubs me the wrong way. Like for instance that this place is going to be filled to the brim with a lot of bottomless pits. So if you do manage to able to get full off in certain points throughout, then you're probably going to drain lives quickly. Especially noticeable, you need to memorize everything about this level. So it gets a bit annoying though, especially noticeable whenever we get onto the final zone in the game, which we'll talk more about that once we finish up this zone. So because of that though, yeah, this is where the difficulty starts to get a bit too much. And also to top it off, eventually at this point, that the levels might get a bit longer. And by the way, you know this part right there? This is only accessible if you actually become a power type character, or to be more specifically, if you don't have any power skills with you, then, well, you can't able to get that Chao. So yeah, you have to be with Knuckles at pretty much all times, because otherwise, if you don't, then you're probably not going to get that Chao. So even then, though, something's worth noting for. But I will say, I do like the visual identity when it comes to the forms of this zone, because again, it reminds me of so much of Techno Base, and it's very similar to, as in Cosmic Angel Zone from the likes of Sonic Advance 1. Like, you know, with the fact that we have to go from place to place with the forms of that specific little contraption thing. And also, get this, is that we actually got ourselves the anti-gravity segments, just like the forms of how it does it in Cosmic Angel Zone from Sonic Advance 1, and Egg Utopia Zone from the likes of Sonic Advance 2. So it's basically like a combination of those things, except the fact that sometimes I'll have to admit though right away, I'm not a big fan of like, let's just say kind of maze kind of filter it in Cybertrack, because you might as well able to actually get you confused and lost. And sometimes it can either just manage to take you straight forward, whilst most of the time it can actually take you backwards. So because of that though, yeah, I'm not a big fan of the forms of that specific process of this whole level design of Cybertrack, because it feels a bit tedious enough. So But you know, that's as far as I can usually describe about the forms of Cybertrack as a result. Again, I do like the actual, the level theme again, just like the forms of how it does on Sonic Advance 2's Techno Base theme. Except the fact that it just makes everything else a little bit annoying and tedious this time around. So it's kind of a shame really, because even then though, again, I must stress that enough, that I do like this level theme again, but it's just the fact that with the level design is pretty bad in Sonic Advance 3 as a result, but it's just the fact that it's just the level design can really mess you up at points, so, but I digress. So yeah, today's day is of course the 22nd of April today, in this case in 2021. We only got about 8 more days to go until new Pokemon Snap for the Nintendo Switch will be releasing. So yeah, in fact, let me know in the comments below for the question of the day. Are you excited for new Pokemon Snap? Because I surely do. And also, another question of the day is that, what do you think about the forms of Sonic Advance 3 so far? Well, at least to be more specifically, what's your least favorite level in the game? And what's your favorite zone in the game? Or to be more specifically, what's your favorite aspect of Sonic Advance 3? I personally think that the actual boss fight is actually a lot more interesting, as well as some fantastic music. And also to top it off, it has an interesting partner system, even though some combinations work, some combinations don't work. Like, for instance, you know, playing as Knuckles and you team up with Sonic, it doesn't work. And also there are some other team combinations can be usually be, oh, by the way, that's a bottomless pit down there, so be very careful. So, yeah, just wanted to let you guys know this. So, yeah, because I'd like to hear your thoughts about the forms of what's your opinions of the forms of Sonic Advance 3 so far. So, because of that, though, I think I already mentioned about this ever since during the forms of the previous parts ago. So, because of that, though, let's not get ahead of ourselves at this point right now, just because, well, obviously, we still need to focusing on the forms of Act 2 as of now. And, as for Act 3, well, pretty much as far as you guys can clearly tell, since about the fact that we're now on the 6th zone in Sonic Advance 3, so this meaning about the fact that we will eventually unlock the final playable character in the game. So even then though, we can expect to be hyped, and because of that, with the actual power of editing I have to deal with, I've basically managed to able to switch back to Sonic and Tails duo combo, or the combination team. But before we get on to Act 3 though, I need to farm some more extra lives, even though this will be the last time we're going to be seeing those bonus games every once in a while. So, I break my promise after the forms of how the fact that after the second part of this Let's Play, that I was going to say that this will be the last time we're going to be seeing these kinds of minigames like so. But thankfully I've managed to come across into the easiest one by able to actually just deal with the actual you know, the actual animal capsule kind of minigame and stuff like that. So, yeah, you probably get the idea. So, at least thankfully I've got myself 2 extra lives, which I think that pretty much leads me to 11 lives so far, despite the fact that the lives counter is still stuck with 9. So, that's fine by me, because even then though, that I can assure to you that, well, when it gets a bit frustrating during the forms at the very end of the game, or to be more specifically, whenever we get onto the forms of the 7th and the final zone, in addition to trying to find the final 10 Chell during the forms of the next video, I'm gonna have to do a lot of save stating, because as a result, it just gets a bit more, wow, I don't know how to truly explain about this. But anyways, here's the forms of Cybertrack Act 3. I think this is, to me though, is one of the worst levels in the game, just because of this very annoying moment at the very end of the level, which we'll point it out whenever we get into it. So because of that though, there's not much else I can tell, honestly, guys, apart from the fact that we're almost nearly at the end of April, which, kind of think about it, it actually goes by really, really dang fast. Especially noticeable about the fact that since I'm still playing some games from time to time, and also same applies to the forms of watching some films recently, including the forms of the rest of the Marvel films, basically, in addition with the forms of Disney Plus exclusive films, mainly with the forms of, WandaVision, alongside with the forms of the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So even then, I actually enjoyed those, most likely. So even then, I actually enjoyed those so far. And we're still waiting for the forms of the Black Widow to be able to not only came out on the big screen, but also there's also another alternative way, and that is the forms of trying to able to purchase the Premier Access on Disney Plus, which is a bit pricey at this point, but even then though, we'll see what happens during at some point in July. So either way though. So yeah, that's as far as I can say about the forms of Cybertrack. I'm not a big fan of the forms of the actual, the memorization maze kind of filter it, especially if you really want to go after the remaining Chells, then you're gonna have to take a guess of which pathways you're gonna have to go to. But Luckily, if you're watching this Let's Play right now, then you do realize about the fact that I've pretty much memorized every single Chao location, even though I have to do a massive research on guides and all that stuff though, which, again, if you don't have a guide with you, then you probably get yourselves confused and lost. So, yeah, that's something worth noting for. So, anyway, oh yeah, this is the bit I was talking about. Well, not here, but to be more specifically, this section. And that's why, as you can tell on screen, I have to use my save states, because this part right there, this is all bottomless pit heavy, and if you mess up that particular platform, then you're probably not gonna able to actually just to recover from that, and you die instantly. And also another annoying moment's notice is that you can't able to actually see what's below you, so you have to able to utilize the actual down crouching camera angle, and because of that though, it just really frustrates you if you manage to do not know what the actual level design usually plays out to be, and it's just, you know, it kind of feels a bit frustrating if you manage the first time playing through it. So, although luckily for me, I've managed able to get myself my special stage key once we go for the forms of this frustrating section. So, I'm sure that most people might able to actually know what I'm talking about, because even then knows that you're able to drain lives very, very fast. Specifically in this ending portion right there. And believe me, the partner system can really screw you up in the forms of this section, because if they somehow jump on the platform before you do, then basically you probably ended up falling off to its death, and basically you have to do the entire section all over again, and that's no good. Fair enough. Well, good news is the fact that we're pretty much almost nearly at the end of Cybertrack. Although, don't get me wrong, I don't mind this particular level theme, because we're going back into a techno kind of technology kind of theme level, which I always enjoy. But it's just the level design is pretty bad, still. And here's the forms of Gemroll for the, well, this is actually the 4th time we're going to be able to actually fight against with him. But every now and then he gets more moves this time around, such as, for instance, he constantly spams in a lot of missiles at you, and occasionally he able to actually decide to use the teleportation kind of move. You know, kind of like Chaos Control. Even though, despite the fact that Shadow wasn't in this game though, so even then though, he only exists on Battle Mode, or Sonic Battle, for that matter. So either way though, few hits on him, and you should be good to go. And since we actually playing as Sonic, and it doesn't matter what partner combination you're able to bring along with you, well, I always attempt to bring in Sonic and Tails a lot, so because of that though, once we finish Act 3, and in addition to able to get myself my glorious gold medal, I know I found this a little bit easier for you, but believe me, for your first time playing for this though, yeah, this particular zone is ridiculously hard. Hey Cream, long time no see, Sonic. What are you doing here? Taking a walk with Cheese, but we're lost. This area isn't safe. Let's go. Okay, let's go, Cheese. Oh cool, we got the most broken character in the game last. Oh man, we actually unlock Cream as in the forms of this zone. But again, to unlock her, much like the forms of Sunset Hill, along with the forms of Toy Kingdom, you always have to be sure you need to always play as Sonic at the very end of Act 3. And, well, after when you deal with the forms of Gemroll first. So, either way though, that's the entire purpose of the forms of unlocking characters in this game. I know it's just a little bit of a busy work if you're constantly able to switch between, you know, different character combinations and all that stuff though, which is a bit of a busy work. But either way though, we've pretty much all sorted it as it is. So, anyway, so let's go ahead and hit in here and try to select Cream the Rabbit right here. Obviously makes her return ever since Sonic Advance 2. And technically Sonic Battle as well, if you're trying to able to count that, for the sake of the forms of playable characters debuted. So, but I digress. How it works for Cream, she plays out pretty much exactly the same as the forms of how it does on Sonic Advance 2, but since, as you can see on screen, I managed to able to pick not only Cream as my leader player, but also Sonic as my partner companion, even though we'll talk more about that once we get into the forms of, after we've done the 6th special stage. And oh boy, it gets a bit tricky though. But nowhere near as hard as the forms of this devious special stage 7 though, because for the love of God, I still have not even beat that special stage for the longest time. But believe me, we'll get to that eventually, believe me. Especially the most annoying thing about the 7th special stage though, well, I'll talk more about that when we get onto the forms of next Tuesday specifically. So, yeah, there's gonna be every once in a while those bullet bill looking like enemies decide to able to throw projectiles at you, so you have to watch out for that. And you know with these little blue like areas that every time you bypass one, or if you're trying to go through them, basically you can able to get double the amount of rings if you manage to able to go ahead and do multiplier and stuff. Every once in a while though is the fact that those blue things will start to move every now and then, so you have to be extremely cautious with timing and stuff like that, especially until the final special stage, easily the hardest special stage in not only the entire game, but the entire Sonic Advance trilogy in my opinion. Although, sure enough though, that Sonic Advance 1's 7th special stage is hard as hell due to the forms of depth perception, and well, I personally think that Sonic Advance 2 Special Stage 7 is not that challenging unless you have to be super sparse with the forms of the actual ring chain reactions every now and then. But either way though, I'm just saying about the forms of difficultiness when it comes to, like, you know, the last special stages in the entire trilogy of Sonic Advance series. But you know. Oh yeah, by the way, every time you get hit, then you lose 5 rings, by the way. So, but thankfully for me, since I actually got about 271 rings, it should able to be still enough by able to get the 6th Chaos Emerald. So we only got one more to go, and the last one is gonna be a pain in the butt in my life. But now we're done with that, and now let's go ahead and... Oops, I did not meant to jump in here, because the annoying thing about this hub world is that sometimes you might accidentally manage to able to get into the wrong level, and then if you really want to get things moving, then chances are you might accidentally run into the forms of the level number, which is a bit tedious enough. And also, this hub area is actually kind of annoying, honestly, just because it feels like a labyrinth-themed maze, and for the first time if you're ever playing this, then sometimes you never know where you're gonna go. So, even then though, you always have to utilize these little contraptions in order to progress, so... Yeah, I think the actual pro tip for this is just go right at the very beginning, and then at the end though, I did not meant to go, well, as far as you guys can clearly see on screen, I did not meant to go down there, because that actually takes me all the way back to the very beginning of this hub world, and I think trying to go up is probably for the better, so, but thankfully, this will be the last level we're going to be dealing with in Cybertrack, because believe me, I'm still not a big fan of this particular zone as a result, just because of all this tedium all in all. But, although visually it's nice all in all, but it's just the fact that in order to be able to go to progress, it just feels a bit tedious to me though. But I digress, so we have to go up, and basically this will lead us to the next boss. So, yeah, how it works for Cream with Sonic, basically she actually acted out very similar to Sonic Advance 2, except the fact that, you know with that specific cheese attack, basically, he doesn't manage to home in on enemies anymore. Well, depending on the actual partners with you, so, but you know. So Dr. Eggman's Cybertrack Eggmobile called Egg Pinball is actually a pretty interesting boss fight, but again it could be really annoying because of the partner system. Basically, all you have to do is basically you have to attack its ball projectile when Dr. Eggman manages to shoot. And when the balls turn into blue balls, it does not damage Eggman. The only way you can only deal the damage on Dr. Eggman is that you have to hit those balls and change the actual color to red balls, and that deals the damage. But here's the thing though, is the fact that with the partner system with you, sometimes it can really mess you up with your movements, and sometimes, badly enough, you weren't able to actually get hit. And what's even annoying, or what's even more annoying, is that when you lose rings, sometimes those rings will able to bypass through the actual arena, and as a result, it can give you a lot of death situations if you screw up, and especially noticeable with the partners might able to screw you up too. So, in this case scenario, is the fact that, well, you're gonna die a lot, so... yeah, that's as far as I can say about this boss fight. And sometimes you're gonna have to be super precise with the angle shots, with the actual sending the ball back at him. But most of the time though, think of like ping pong, except the fact that it can be a bit frustrating due to the forms of the partner system. And also to top it off, well, you know, it just feels a bit chaotic for my taste. But there we go, that pretty much concludes Cyber Track. In addition to that, that pretty much takes care of Egg Pinball, according to the forms of that machine's name, so yeah.
You're going to pay for this.
Yeah, whatevers. We already deal with you, Eggman. Anyway, so let's go ahead and jump for this little medal, and we can sure enough, we'll get ourselves the glorious gold medal. So, sometimes this boss fight might take a bit longer time though, if you're trying to able to do your, you know, good timing and what have you. So, yeah, that pretty much concludes Cyber Track. I'm very glad that zone is over, because believe me, that zone just frustrates me. But anyway, since we're done with that, and now we head on to the 7th and the final zone in the game, known as Chaos Angel Zone. So I guess we should probably end things off at this point right here. So join me next time on Let's Play Sonic Advance 3. It's that we're going to be head on to the 7th and the final zone in the game, known as Chaos Angel Zone. So I'll see you guys until on Tuesday. Later, fellas.